Give a big round of applause for Gabriella Pizzolo. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. How's everything going? I'm so excited to be here. Oh my gosh, I see familiar faces. I see new faces. It's so great to be here. This is like one of the hugest cons I've ever seen. You all are so lucky to be so close to here. Did anybody travel here? Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm so happy to be here. You all are incredible. I see a Susie outfit. That's amazing. I love it. I'm gonna have to come find you later. That's awesome. Perfect.
So have you been here to Pittsburgh before? I know you haven't been to the con, but have you been to the Pittsburgh area?
I actually have. My mother actually grew up like right at the border of Ohio, and so we've been like visiting family, and we have family in the area, so I'm very familiar with the area. But I'm staying in the heart of the city, and I love it. It's amazing. I heard all about the bridges. What is it, like 440 something? It's like amazing.
That's awesome. Well, for those who have questions, please line up over there. But I have a quick question for you. Before you got cast for season 3, and you had to sing, as you probably heard, we were playing the song, how familiar were you with the Never-Ending Story?
That's a really good question. I get this a lot, and a lot of people feel like I may not have known it or I had to learn it for the show, but I actually was one of the people that my parents made watch the movie. And they had like a whole list of movies from their childhood, like all the 80s classics, and Never-Ending Story was on the list. So I grew up with that movie, and it was one of my favorite things, like especially because of all the artistry and like how iconic it is. I knew the song by heart. I showed it to all my friends who hadn't watched it, and we made it like our thing in second grade. And so getting to perform the actual song, when I got the scene to audition, I was like, oh my gosh, they're doing the song that I always used to sing in second grade. And it was like meant to be, because I was like, it's Never-Ending Story. Now I gotta get this. And it was so great. I was so happy they chose that.
Yeah, they were like, here's a song you might not be familiar with. Here's the lyrics. And you're like, no, I got this.
Oh, no. I know this. It's even funnier because Gaten knew the harmonies and everything. He was like, yeah, I'm a fan too. It was awesome. And Gaten plays Dustin. And the two of us, we just totally did it in 10 minutes. And we were like, yeah, we both know that each other have done this before. There's no way we whip this up in 10 minutes. So we both have a very obvious love for the show, and for that the fact that they put it in the show and the movie itself is just incredible. Very sad, though.
Sad? How do you mean?
Sad Artax. I mean, come on. That made me cry. I can't.
Yeah. Try you. Okay. We're going to get to audience questions.
Perfect.
What were you thinking during the Never-Ending Story song?
What was I thinking? Ooh. I think that mainly I was thinking about, okay, when I was filming it, I had this little earpiece in, and it was basically real time playing Gaten, who plays Dustin, his voice, off in like the other room. Because many people don't know this. Many people think that, with the show, if there's people on like little radios or walkie-talkies, that the people just don't show up and they either edit it in later or like do that in ADR or a separate day. But they actually usually have the people present and right off screen. So Gaten was right there singing right off screen in like one of the other sets right next door. Like I think it was the buyer's house at that time. And he was singing in the buyer's living room, and it was wired into my ear. So I was mainly thinking about how I was staying on track with him. And I was also having just the best time, because the more and more we did it and the more comfortable we got with it, the more I was able to like move around. And the Duffer Brothers, who directed episode 8 of season 3, were so great with collaboration and making sure that the actors had the liberty to collaborate with each other, and also just with the directors and with the camera people and all of the operators. And that's something that you don't typically get, you know? And I feel like that makes the show just so special and so great. And so I was also thinking about, like, they kept going, oh, your energy is so great, do it even more. And so every single time I kept, like, doing more, and eventually we landed on, like, the Falcor, like this pose that I do in it, and it was so fun. I think also being a fan of the movie helped with that. But yeah, a lot of dancing, a lot of fun, and a lot of listening. And then after that, we totally reversed it, and Gaten was the one to film it on the little lawn that looks like the hill in the show, but it was all blue screened, really. It was a little lawn right outside the parking lot of the actual the sound stages, and it was just a blast. It was the best day. So something that would be going across my mind in that moment would probably be just like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. So that's probably what I was thinking.
All right, next question is from Kayla.
Kayla.
Who is your favorite cast member to work with? And also, who would you wish to do a scene with out of everyone in the world?
Ooh.
Just anyone.
Yeah. Anyone in the cast or just anyone?
Anyone.
Anyone. Oh my gosh. There's so many options. I feel like for me specifically, even though she's in the show, Winona Ryder is like a literal living legend. And she's so sweet. She has so much insight about the industry and about people, and I love her so much. And so getting to do something with her, especially because she's in the show, would be incredible. I don't know what a Joyce and Susie meetup would look like or why they would be in a scene together. But then again, when I got the scripts for season 4, for those of you who have already seen it, I never expected that Will and, Finn Wolfhard would be in my house in Utah. Like, I never expected stuff like Charlie and Eduardo to just show up. And that happened. So I have all the faith that, anything is possible. So definitely that. And my favorite cast member to work with, I definitely have to mention Gaten. Not just because we do the most scenes together in terms of me with him, but I think also just because everything that you see on screen of him as Dustin is so hilarious, and people always ask me, is he really like that in real life? And he totally is. He is all of that and more, I usually say, because the things that come out of his mouth are hilarious. He always takes the time to make sure that everyone on set feels comfortable, but he's definitely a joker and a trickster too. And it makes everything fun. And I'd have to say also, it was really great getting to work with Noah Schnapp, just because he's around my same age, but a little bit younger. So I was helping him actually do like college applications while we were filming season 4. And it was super fun because we would run out on breaks and he would start writing his essays on the Common App and be like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to make this essay about this and this essay about this. And I was like, I did all this last year. I totally know what's going on. And it was so much fun. And he's such an interesting person. And I feel like there's a lot that we got to connect on. And those are probably the 2 favorite people that I've ever gotten to work with on the show.
Well, that is great. Your house in Utah, though, wasn't actually in Utah, from what I understand. Was that?
Yeah, when we filmed it, it was just a house down the block in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was incredible. It was so beautiful, and they like totally like, especially when I'm on the roof fixing the Cerebro that I have. They like totally like blue screened in like the mountains, the Utah like whole scenery and everything. And originally it was supposed to be part of their New Mexico filming. But they eventually just found the house down the street from the sound stages and they were like, well, this is perfect and it's right here. So we just kept it as that. And it was just a totally normal block. Like people across the street were just raking and doing regular like garden work, and they were like, "Well, why are all those cameras over there?" And I'm sure whoever's on the block now is like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what it must be like to see something on TV that you know so well. But yeah, so it's definitely a Georgia house. Very nice. I loved it.
Very cool. Next question.
It's for Timber.
Hi again.
Hi. What was your favorite off-the-screen moment of being with the cast?
I feel like there are so many that happen every day. And I'm not the hugest character, so I'm not there all of the time. But I've heard so many fun stories. And every single time that I got to be on the set, they made sure that it was a blast. All of the ADs, all of the directors, the cast members made sure it was super fun. And I actually got to spend my 18th birthday on the set. And I was filming my regular scenes. It was one of the parts where I was talking about the IP address and I was actually hacking into the base on the computer. And it was all of the Nina Project stuff. And they were whispering all day. The cast and the directors were like whispering, and I was like, this is so odd. I wonder why they're whispering. And of course, everybody had wished me a happy birthday at the beginning of the day. They were like, yeah, and they were super casual about it. And so I was like, something's really suspicious. Something's going on. And it turns out that the entire day they were planning a like really quick surprise party. And for a really quick surprise party, it actually was really well coordinated. They had like lawn games and like food and catering, and the crafty was just amazing that day. And they had it all set up in the backyard of Susie's house. And it was just the coolest thing because everyone was super excited that I was 18 and I got to work late nights and everything, and it was finally allowed. And they were like, congrats, now we can keep you for forever. And it was just an overall incredible day. And it was really, really thoughtful of them. And I think things like that make the show what it is, especially because you know, you see all of the labor and effort that goes into it, and it just makes it so much better having that personal connection with every single person. And like the editors will come up and talk to us at the parties and stuff like that. And it's like, it's incredible getting to actually see those people and like match a face to the name that you see in the credits. It's very personal, and it's a super, super sweet group of people and a great experience overall.
All right, next question is from Leah.
Hi.
Hi. Who is your favorite cast member from Stranger Things?
Cast member. Okay. I feel like I've got to say the same ones I've been saying. Gaten is incredible, especially because we do play, girlfriend and boyfriend. But I also think all the cast members who are like part of the effects team and are actors who either like body double as the Demogorgon or the Demodogs or anything else, they're so, so cool. A lot of them, and the stunt doubles are so, so cool because you see someone dressed up with the exact same like hair wig as you, and like you see someone who looks just like Gaten but isn't Gaten, and like could possibly be the same height but way older or way younger. And it's like, it's so funny to get to see all that happen and to see it all play out and all the incredible work that they do. And I think just all the adult cast members as well, even though the kids are really, really close with each other and everyone is so tight-knit and good with each other, I think the adults have a lot of interesting insight. David Harbour and Winona Ryder, obviously, Sean Astin, all the people that they've pulled from the 80s who were icons in the 80s and still are now because of this show and because of so many other things. I think they have so much insight to offer about growing up with this new generation of kids in the show, being in the spotlight all the time, and they're so helpful and so fun to have around, and it's just a really relaxing environment because of that, and it's a shared experience, and it's all super, super fun.
So was Goonies on that list that your parents had?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to
Yes.
make sure.
Absolutely. I've seen like all of the Goonies lore, like general lore stuff with like how like the octopus scene never made it in and yet it still is mentioned in the end and stuff like that. Like I love it. I used to, during another job that I worked on Broadway, I would sit backstage and watch all of these movies that either my parents had recommended or my child guardian, because backstage the children on Broadway actually can't have their parents back there with them. They need a guardian who's trained to get them to all the places they need to go and stand where they need to stand in order to stay safe and regulate all the schooling. And so my child guardian also grew up in the 80s, and she was totally cool, and she had so many movies she had me watch. It was like a huge stack, and like I went through them all and I watched them all, and it was like that was definitely one of the ones on there. So I've loved it from a very young age.
All right, next question is from Yuri.
So I'm fine and glad that you got to meet up with some of the cast members and not stay in
Yes.
Utah the whole time. But if you were to choose like a different storyline to have been part of, which one would you have preferred to be in? Like, would you want to be in like the Nina Project? Would you want to be in Russia? Would you want because they're kind of all everywhere in season 4.
Yeah. That's definitely really like intriguing. I've never thought about being a part of a different group because they had so many different groups. They had like the Cali crew, the Hawkins crew. I think I would want to be a part of the Hawkins crew just because I feel like that's the heart of where like Vecna is and begins. And I feel like a lot of the really interesting like possession, like I know it's like terrifying in the show. The first time I saw it, I was like, whoa, like I had read this in the script, but I had no idea it was going to look this terrifying. Like I was like, this is next level, guys. But just all of that, I feel like is so interesting to see the process of all of the filming of that, specifically like with Dear Billy, like how they worked with all of that in the graveyard is so interesting. So I definitely love to be a part of that crew and just get to like be a part of the crew that like explores the Creole house and all of that. I feel like I love it. And it was so interesting to get to watch it. It made me want to be a part of that too.
Next one is from Emily.
Awesome. Hey!
Hey! So, since Susie is like one of the most underrated characters of all time, for season 5, what goal did you want to do for Susie? What do you want her to contribute more in the finale? Do you want her to kill Vecna, which doesn't stop Vecna?
Yeah, very interesting question. I feel like for me, first of all, thank you. Thank you for helping out, and thank you for saying that about Susie. I'm sure she would be very grateful for you. And I think that what I would want to see more than anything, we always talk in the cast, specifically me and Gaten, about how we haven't technically seen them on screen together, like in real time. And I would love to see how that would play out, the whole reunion. I feel like they've been through a lot of turmoil in the past with, constantly not knowing where each other are. And like, I don't hear from him for a week at first. And it turns out he's like trapped in a mall in the basement and just all of that. And then my equipment gets taken away by my father. I feel like I just would love to get to see them actually be together. And I feel like they've got to have their never-ending story moment. They got to have their never-ending story together. I feel like not necessarily even singing, but just have that be a thing and have everybody else get to meet her as well. I know that kind of happened with Mike and Will and Jonathan, but yeah, definitely getting to see all the people who heard that scene happen get to meet her. I think that'd be hilarious.
All right, next question is from Miracle.
Hi, Miracle.
Hi, nice to see you. Thank you for being here. So
Thank you.
Peyton was here recently, and he corrected everyone on it's not Dusty Buns, it's Dusty Bun. and Susie Poo. So do you guys do you call each other that? Or I'm just wondering, because I sometimes can't even say, I just call him Dusty Bun now all the time. Or I'll be like, you guys look at the scene with Susie Poo. Like, so what do you?
That's really funny because I feel like, especially when the Duffers were having us do the scene, the Neverending Story scene, and they first wrote those names. First of all, in the audition that I did, they were Gemini and Timmy, and they had no character names, so that way the people auditioning had no idea who or what was going on in the show, so they couldn't spoil it. And so I was reading it, and I was like, this just sounds like Gaten. Like, of course, Mike, another kid, and like Finn, has Elle, and now at that point, season 2 had happened. So we were like, okay, Lucas is with Max, and Will isn't with anyone, and Dustin isn't with anyone. And I don't think it would be Will, so I feel like it has to be Gaten. And the humor just sounded so much like him that I was like, okay, definitely has to be him. But there were no names in the actual audition. And so when they pulled that out, when they sent it to me, first of all, I was hysterical. I was like, this is the cutest thing, Dusty Bun and Susie Poo. And because it was so specific, and every single time we would do a take of the scene, and maybe Gaten would slip in like, oh, Susie Cakes, or like something else that was a different form of like name like that, they would be like, no, it has to be Susie Poo. You have to go back and do that over again, but say Susie Poo. And we were like, that is so specific to like have every single time. And so when they ended up using that, we were like, it must just be something so specific to the Duffers. And I know that they actually based Susie off of one of their friends in high school. That's like a little bit of trivia. She was Mormon. She was into STEM. She was really great with computers, and she kind of had the overall look. She had huge glasses, and so they based Susie off of one of their friends. And so I feel like that just has to be something really specific to whoever that was that they thought was hilarious and they needed in the show. But we personally don't call each other that. Gaten does have a girlfriend, and she actually likes to call us that more than we call each other that. She thinks it's really funny. And I think that kind of camaraderie that we have, being the on-screen girlfriend and the real-life girlfriend is just so great. And she's an actress too, so she's super in with all the industry stuff, and she's super fun to have around. So yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Hannah, and so you said that Winona Ryder is legendary, which she is. So I was just kind of curious on what your favorite movie is of her and how your first interaction was with her.
Right. Okay. Well, obviously, some of the 80s and 90s classics like Beetlejuice and Heathers, I love. But I actually also really love like psychological horror. And so her showing up in Black Swan, I didn't even know that she was going to be in it necessarily. I was like watching it for the first time with Natalie Portman, and she plays the older ballerina who's getting phased out. And I was like, this is so interesting to have her playing that role. And she did so great with it, and it was terrifying and it was amazing. So those are some of my favorite roles of hers specifically. And my first interaction, I was in the hair room, and she was coming in to get her hair done for the day too. And it was very nice and it was casual, but it was more like we were both there to get work done. And they try to keep the adults and the kids a little more separate, just because like with the kids, when they're all hanging out at the beginning of the day, they usually have scenes together, so they get to catch up with each other before the scenes. But I think that she's just such an inspiration, and I think a lot of the kindness that I see from her, especially when she's alone with the cast, it's so special, and she's such a special person. And her roles make so much of what people know of her, but she is all of that and extra. Like she is everything that she has done, and she is her own being. And her being herself is just the most pure form of like Winona, and I love that.
That is awesome. We still have more time, so if you want to get in line over there. I do have a question.
Yeah.
Because as I was putting together your reel, I saw your part on Pretty Little Liars, Original Sin.
Yeah.
How did that come about, and how is it playing a bit different? You're definitely not the cheery Susie character
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah. I auditioned for the show. I knew a lot of the girls who auditioned for basically in the show. They hop between these group of girls in 2022 who are the daughters of a group of girls living in the 90s. And it's like very much the it girl group, like the Plastics or the Heathers. And they're very, very popular in the school they go to in this small town. And Angela is who I play, and she basically is this girl who gets adopted into the group. And it's very much like that trope from those movies where you get adopted into the group, you start to become, more like the girls in the group, and then at the very end, a lot happens, and Angela ends up in a very, very dark place, and she has her Carrie moment, and she goes out in glory and everything at the end of a rave. And basically getting to do that was so different. But it came about a year later from when I filmed season 4. And I basically auditioned, and they said it was a guest appearance in the first episode, and that was it. And so I went for the first episode, and they were like, yeah, okay, see you next time. And I was like, next time? And they ended up using the group of girls that they had used for the first episode for every single episode for the rest of season 1. So it was really, really interesting to get to do that, and also getting to play a kid in the 80s and then switching to playing a teenage girl in the end of the 90s and early 2000s was so interesting. And I feel like a lot of her story is so different from Susie's, which is how the acting and the character is so different. She just she can't catch a break. Every single time I would show up, I was either crying or being tormented, or she just goes through a lot throughout the season that you come to find out. And so it was really interesting getting to work on that, as opposed to singing a cute, catchy song with a camp boyfriend on a really great show, and getting to have a lot of fun and dance and stuff like that. Two totally separate experiences, but I ended up getting to be a part of the show a lot more than I originally thought I was going to be, which was really interesting.
That's very cool. And yeah, definitely way different. Check it out if you haven't already. We have another question over here.
Yep, it's from Eric.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
So my question is, did you ever get to work with Millie, and what was it like?
Ooh, I never got to work with Millie in an actual scene, but I know Millie, and she's so nice, just in passing. I know Mason, who plays Jason, and Gaten were the first two to actually talk when Mason was introduced to the set. And there's a lot of moments like that where characters who don't necessarily have huge scenes together or huge moments together end up being super close. And it was so fun, because one of my first days on set during season 3, when I was about to film the Neverending Story scene, Millie was in the same trailer that I was in getting ready, and we basically just got to hang out together, and she came over to me, and neither of us were dressed in costume yet, and she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited you're here, you're real. Everybody, the running bit the entire day that I was there filming Neverending Story was like, oh, you're real, Susie isn't made up. And so everyone was super excited to see me, and they were all showing up just to watch Gaten get to perform and sing finally. And And they found a really interesting way to tie it into the rest of the story, because people had been begging for Gaten to sing for so long. They were like, he's a Broadway kid. He's got to be singing on the show, and showcasing that talent. And I think that it was just incredible. And so Millie was totally there for it. And she was watching us do our thing and supporting us. And she's really, really great. She's the first person to see you and pull you out on the dance floor. That's what I say, because when I was at the premiere for the show, she hadn't seen me in months, and she like totally just pulled me out on the dance floor, and we got to catch up. And she's super inclusive and fun to get to work with. And since she's one of the younger people on the show, out of the kids, it's super fun to get to watch her grow up and experience life. And you know, she's also a really incredible human being. And it was great to get to not necessarily work with her, but just get to hang out with her on set when we were both doing separate things.
That is awesome. You have another question. Great.
Ready?
Awesome.
I just got here. I don't know if this is already answered, but are you going to be in season 5?
Am I going to be in season 5? Here's the funniest thing. Nobody really knows what's going on with season 5 yet. And I only know a few people who actually have been confirmed in the cast that they are going to be there. And they're starting up soon, so usually they let us know like a week or two before, and then we just have to fly out and do it. But I'm really hoping so. I feel like because it's the very end of the story, or at least this specific storyline in the show's world, I feel like you've got to have all of your characters back at least once to get the final part of their little story. And I'm really, really hoping so.
Also, I just wanted to say, for my school course, we sang "Never-Ending Story" for one of our performances.
That is so awesome. I've heard a lot of people say that to me in the past few years since it came out, and the song was repopularized and everything.
I told my friends, I was like, oh, I have a photo opportunity for tomorrow, because I was talking to them yesterday. They were like, oh my God, what?
That is so awesome. You have to tell them all I say hello. I'm so happy that you performed the song. That's awesome. They must be pretty jealous you get to be here, because there's a lot of incredible people here.
Awesome. To go to some of your other work, what can you tell us about Butterbean's Cafe?
Oh, yeah. I feel like a lot of people don't usually know about this because it's voiceover, but there's a Nick Jr. show called Butterbean's Cafe, and I got to play one of the 5 leads in it, who are a group of fairies who live in this magical world, and they basically run a cafe together, and it's about cooking and healthy eating and farm to table and composting and all of this great food recycling type stuff. And they actually give out a bunch of recipes each episode to try. And so I play this young 5 or 6 year old, and her name is Cricket, and she's the youngest of the group. The rest of them are tweens, and she's very much learning a lot, and in many ways the audience of the show, being little kids, are learning things through Cricket's eyes, and a lot of things are explained to her, and so it's very fun. And at first she wasn't supposed to be any age difference from the rest of the cast, but they figured that because they needed a younger, more relatable character with a group of tweens for a show meant for 5 to 6 year olds, they would have me do that. So I showed up to record the first day, and I sounded like my normal self at the time. I started when I was 13-ish. And then they had me come back in and re-record, and they were like, great, you did everything great, now just sound like you're 5 instead of 13. And I was like, oh, really? And they were like, I was like, any reason? And they're like, yeah, you're playing a 5-year-old now. And I was like, great, awesome. But that's the cool thing with voiceover, is a lot of the people in the show, specifically Butterbean, but in shows in general with cartoons and animated series, is that people can be anything and become anything, especially in a world where you have people like Tom Kenny who become these characters that are just larger than life and unreal. It's incredible to get to experience that, and voiceover is one of my favorite things to do. And I've been lucky to get to do more of that. But Butterbean was definitely one of my largest projects, just being there every week recording episodes for all the kids. Yeah.
Well, we look forward to having you in more voice roles.
Yeah.
Speaking of other roles, any projects coming out that you can mention?
Ooh. Not much that I can mention right now, but I also love writing and directing, and I've gotten the opportunity to do both of those really recently. I write music and I write shows, and I'm actually, since I'm in college, I'm directing a play that I wrote as the college's spring show. And so it's been really, really fun being on the other side of the table and kind of seeing how actors work from the lens of like a director or a writer, and just how it gives me a lot of insight on how actors are viewed and what they're really thinking and what the process is like, just from a totally different angle and a different role in the production. And I think that it's been really fun to get to try that. I still love acting, and I love getting to try it all, specifically with something so artistic and something that I'm so passionate about.
Well, that is excellent, and hopefully that will also, being a director, will help you as an actor, and
Yeah.
it will be a feedback loop, and we'll see you in all kinds of stuff for many years to come.
Yeah, I hope so.
Gabriella, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for spending the time with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Be sure to visit her at her table, and hopefully we'll see you in season 5.
Hopefully, and I'd love to see you at the table. Come on over. Awesome. So great to see you all. Thank you
Big
for
round
being
of
here.
applause, please.
Hey there, this is Nolan North, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Good for you. Very proud of you. Now go watch more. Oh, and have fun and follow your fandom.